broken the 5,400 support. So not a good thing. We can potentially, so 16,000 could be where some bargain hunting can come back again. We are at 3,243. So the market has just closed. We have seen weakness in the markets over the past 2 weeks due to a sell down in the mega cap tech stock. So funds are shifting away from technology sector, and we have of course escalating tensions in the Middle East due to the assassination of one of the top Hamas leader. And recently, over the past few days, we are seeing more weakness as some economic data have came out, and we're seeing unemployment rate reach the highest they've seen since October 2021. So where are we right now for the markets? Can we see more weakness? Hey guys, Joey here, top tier reminder, trader in Phillips Securities, and in this video, I'll be talking about the markets. So I will dive into the charts of the main indices like the Dow Jones, the S&P 500 index, the Nasdaq, and even the Singapore STI to see where we are right now and what are some of the new support levels that have came out, or maybe we have broken them and we could see more downside to the next support level whereby you may start to think about getting in again. So Dow Jones right here at 39,737. So you can see that we have sold off by more than 600 points, about 1.5% on Friday, and we have broken this very critical support level that I've talked about in my previous video. So this is what we call a very key psychological level, the 40,000 resistance level that was holding, I would say, since like March, April, May, June. We're actually trading below this 40,000 resistance. We broke over a bit, and that's where it was supposed to be a new support level. So the range became like 40,000 all the way to like 41,500. You can see right over here we saw selling happening at 2 times around in July, mid of July, somewhere around early of August. We saw some selling coming back, and we were pretty much consolidating, that it would be the range if we were to stay above that 40,000. But over the past few days, you can see that we have broken back down below this 40,000 level. You can see, right? So now it's like below 40,000, and we have broken down below this horizontal psychological support level. We are like 39,737. So not so good in terms of the short term, because in terms of this higher support level that's formed, resistance turn support that has been broken. Plus, you can see that we have also gone back down below what we call the short-term moving average. So when we look at the short-term trend, we can look at what we call the 20 days moving average. So this is the green line. You can see somewhere around like June, it started to flatten out, started to point up, and prices were more or less above the 20 days moving average. And even right over here, can you see we actually came down, retested the 20 days moving average, also where the $40,000 support is, and we rebounded. But right now today, over the past 1-2 days, you can see we went below the green line, plus we went below the psychological 40,000 level. So that's where potentially we may see a bit of weakness in the short term. We may head towards the next support level, maybe all the way to that 39,000 would potentially be the next support level that we've been held above somewhere in June. Of course, after 39,000, the next critical support would be where we've been holding since the beginning of 2024, and that would be none other than the 37,800 to maybe that 38,000 level. Right over here, you can see that since like January, this year, we've rebounded, went back down, retested a couple of weeks, went up, same thing, came back down, retested, went back up. So 37,800 to 38,000 right over here, that is potentially where some good bargain hunting can come back again. And you can see that it also coincides with where the 200 days moving average line is, this blue line, which gives a kind of like a gauge of the longer term trend. You can see it has been in a pretty strong uptrend since like last year or beginning of last year, just by looking at what we call the 100 days and the 200 days moving average. But in the short term, we did see a couple of weakness, selling down in July last year, even in March this year we sold off. But overall, the longer term trend is pretty much fine. So I think right now we are seeing a bit of short term weakness. We may pull back down to where the longer term moving averages are. Right over here, it could be like near 38,000, or you can see, as I mentioned, it would be the support level over here as well, somewhere around that 39,000. That's where the 100 days moving average line is. So anywhere from 38,000 to 39,000, I think that's where potentially for the Dow Jones we may see some good buying pressure coming back. We stabilize above these levels, above this support. Maybe we see signs of the short-term trend turning up just by looking at the 20 days moving average, or maybe even some bullish reversal candles. I think that would give it more confirmation of a potential rebound back up. If not, just want to be a bit more careful. We might continue to see weakness over the next few days or maybe over the next 1 or 2 weeks. So here is the S&P 500 index at about 5,346, and this is made up of the top 500 companies in the US. So you can see that over the past one day, on Friday, right, we have sold off by about 100 points, right, went down by 1.8%, and we have gone down below this pretty good support level that we have been holding since like mid of June, and that would be the 5,400 level. Look at this, right? Since last week, right, we were trading above it, and there were some signs of weakness just by looking at the 20 days moving average. So these green lines I mentioned, we can kind of like gauge the short-term trend. It was like pointing up, flatten out a little bit, but over the past 1-2 days, you can see that right now we are starting to slope down, right? And more importantly, we have broken the 5,400 support. So not a good thing. We can potentially see a little bit more weakness in the short term. Where can we head to? Well, I would say the next support level could be somewhere around here at about 5,200, because that was where we were somewhere in May. We held above it for like about 2 to 3 weeks, right? Stand above it, went up a little bit, came back down, retested, saw quite a good bullish candles right here before the rebound all the way up, right? So that 5,002 would be what we call a temporary support level. And of course, if that breaks down, then we may hit to the next, I would say, more critical support level, and that would be the 5,000. This psychological 5,000 will be to like 4,900 to 5,000. You can see right over here, since the beginning of the year in February, we have been holding above this level, and you can see that is where it also coincides with the longer term moving average, the blue line, the 200-day moving average. So anything near that 5,000, so I'm not saying that it will hit to 5,000, but anything near 5,000 to 5,001, I think that is where potentially we can see some good bargain hunting coming back out again, all right, whereby it has pulled back to some of those really attractive levels, back to the longer term moving averages, and potentially we may start to see some strength coming back, right? So if you're looking to get it on dips, I think it's good to see some support or some stabilization near this level, maybe near the 5,000 to 5,001, or maybe even 5,002, all right? So now it's still a little bit shaky because we have just broken that 5,400 support, plus the short-term trend is starting to turn down. So let it just play out a little bit more, a couple of days more, maybe 1 or 2 more weeks to let it stabilize. And then if you do see some signs of that support holding, whether is it like 5,002 or whether is it 5,000, great, right? That is where you can think about getting in again, all right? That's where if you see signs of the short-term trend, like the 20 days moving average, the green line, maybe starting to flatten out and not point down, all right? And maybe start to reverse back up, that would give it more confirmation that now the short-term trend has started to turn up, right? But you can see right now, short-term trend, it is down, right? What about the longer-term trend? So for the S&P 500 index, since last year, right, we have actually been in a longer-term uptrend, right, all the way, I would say in like February or March last year. You can see the 100 days moving average and the 200 days moving average, the red and blue line, both of them have been pointing up. You can see red above the blue, both of them are still pointing up. So it's okay, I would say pretty okay in the longer term, but it doesn't mean that the short term we cannot sell down, because we actually sold off as well somewhere in March. And look at it, this was in July last year, we sold off as well. So along the way, we'll see some short term weakness. You have sold off, let's see, by about how much. You can see that was in July, so we have sold off by about 10% somewhere in July, August, September last year, and maybe in March or April as well, we have sold off by about 6%. So right now, we have sold off maybe by about 5-6%. All right, so yeah, there could be a bit more downside to go, maybe to 8% to 10%. All right, as I say, if we were to hit to those support levels like the 5,000 or even the 5,002, hopefully, that would be a good bargain hunting zone to watch out. So let's move on to the next index, and that would be the Nasdaq Composite Index that accounts for the top technology stock in the US. And by the way, guys, if you like this video, go to give me a like, smash the subscribe button, hit the follow button so that you will not miss out on any videos like this, and that will really help out the channel as well. Right, so let's dive into the Nasdaq Composite Index right now at about 16,776. So you can see, right, same thing for the Nasdaq. We have been in a pretty good longer term uptrend, I would say, since last year, right? April, around April and May. You can see 100 days moving average went up, 100 days red line above the blue line, both pointing up. And you see right now the longer term trend is still intact, but it doesn't mean that in the short term we cannot see weakness. This is exactly what we are seeing right now, right? But the question is, where can buying pressure come back again, right? So short term weakness to where? So that's the thing. What going to find out right now. So you can see that we have broken this 17,000. So 17,000 for the Nasdaq would be a very key, I would say, psychological level. We have been trading below it, I would say, since like May, all right, for about 2 weeks. We attempted to break it, and finally somewhere around like early of June, we broke the 17,000 and went all the way to 18,600, right? For a week, we couldn't get above it. And you can see, guys, the 20 days moving average, this green line started to flatten out, and now obviously it is pointing down. All right, you can see, right, it is pointing down. In fact, for the S&P 500 and for the Dow Jones, it's just starting to point up. But for Nasdaq, it has really pointed down for the past like 1 over week. So the short-term trend is down for now. Right, so where can we potentially head to? Well, short-term trend is down. We have broken the 17,000 psychological support. So two things which can potentially point towards more weakness in the short term, right? And that would be towards the next downside target. I think maybe all the way to the next support around the 16,000. You can see right over here, 16,000 was where we have been holding since like February, March. Also where we were holding as well after breaking above this resistance. So 16,000 could be where some bargain hunting can come back again. Also where the 200 days moving average line is. Remember, for the S&P 500 and even the Dow Jones, that's where we can see potentially some bargain hunting near the longer term moving average, the 200 days moving average. So yeah, it kind of coincides. Same thing with where the 200 days moving average here. So 16,000 would be potentially a support level. We want to see some stabilization near there. You know, a couple of 1 or 2 weeks of kind of like prices holding above that support level. Maybe even some bullish candles, or maybe even this 20 days moving average line you see right now, it's like maybe sloping down. Hopefully it starts to flatten out and maybe starts to point up, like you see right over here, right? So if it starts to flatten out, that would be giving it some confirmation that now the short-term trend is no longer down. We have seen a little bit of a bargain hunting coming back. Potentially a reversal may start to happen. All right, so this is the Nasdaq Composite, right? Broken 17,000, next support 16,000. Watch it, do not rush. All right, and if we hit there, we stabilize above it, that could be a good opportunity to get in again to catch any reversal back up. Okay, so this is the Straits Times Index, right? Singapore's STI trading at about 3,238, right? So let me just do a quick recap of what has happened for the STI. So it looks a little bit different from like the S&P, even the Dow Jones, and STI has been in what we call a sideways consolidation since about 2 years back, since 2022. You can see we're pretty much moving sideways below this 3,400 resistance level. Look at this, right? We touched, we came down, resistance. So somewhere over the past 1 to 2 months, we actually attempted to break the 3,400. So went all the way from 3,004 to 3,005, and that's where the market started to weaken. We couldn't, break above that 3,005, consolidated below it, and right now we are making our way back down again. As you can see, the 20 days moving average, the short-term trend, has started to turn down as well, right? So this 3,004, I would say, would be a very key psychological resistance turn support level. And we were actually attempting to hold above it for about a month, but it seems like due to the heavy selling in the markets worldwide, right, STI cannot hold above this 3,400 support. All right, we broke down last Friday. Even today we sold off pretty heavy as well, right, down by more than 100 over points. All right, and even the next support level that I thought would hold did not hold as well. I mean, it seems like we are kind of like trading below it. And what would that level be? Well, so 3,004 is a support level. After 3,004, potentially the next support level would be 3,250. So 3,250, you can see since November all the way until April this year, about 5 months, we were actually trading below it. Finally, you can see we broke above it. The short-term trend turned up, and we started to see the rally all the way up. All right, so that's the 3,250. So 3,250 was a pretty key resistance for 5 to 6 months. So after breaking above it, that would now be a support level. So today, right now, you can see that we are right here. We are at 3,243. So the market has just closed, right? And you see 3,243 is below 3,250. So it looks a little bit shaky just by being below this 3,250. We may still see some short-term weakness. So whenever we see like the short-term trend turning down, like the 20 days moving average, like the green line is pointing down, plus we break a certain horizontal support level, that is not a good thing. Potentially some selling or further selling can actually happen. All right, so where could next support level be? Well, next one would be the 3,000. So 3,000 would be that very key psychological level that, as I mentioned, we have been trading sideways since 2022. So there's a longer term kind of a support level. My take is that would hold. I mean, since 2022, we have been holding above it. It's a very, very key support level that potentially would see some very heavy buying pressure if we were to hit there, right? So I don't think we might even hit there to test it. Along the way, we might see some bargain hunting coming back. So maybe the next support level could be even near that 3,100 as well, because 3001 is where we have been holding above since like beginning of the year. Look at this, right? Rebounded. Let me just show it for you. Over here, we neared it, rebounded. So 3001 could be a temporary support level after 3250, right? So that's where we may see some some bargain hunting coming back. Of course, 31 first, after 31, then 3000, right? Hopefully 3001 would hold as well, right? So I think that is for the Straits Time Index. We may see same thing like the rest of the US market as well. We may see some short-term weakness below 3250. Let it stabilize first. We don't have to rush. Let it play out. Let a few more days play out. We want to see some stability coming out. We want to probably see some bullish candles coming out, maybe near the support levels. That could potentially lead the recovery. So that's it for this video, guys. I hope you have a better idea of where we are right now for each of the different markets, the Dow Jones, the S&P 500, the Nasdaq, and even the Singapore's STI, all right, and where potentially we can head to based on it breaking current existing support level. So as I mentioned, for many of those indices, all right, in the markets, we can potentially see a little bit more weakness in the short term. So we don't have to rush, right? In the longer term, it still looks pretty okay, but in the short term, it could be a sell down by another few days, maybe 1 week, maybe 2 weeks. Nobody knows, but let it stabilize at the new lower support level for a while. All right, maybe you see some signs of the short-term trend turning back up. That could lead you to get in the game, maybe to ride the reversal, right? If not, you just want to be patient, all right? You don't want to rush to get it when the short-term trend is still pointing down. All right, so Joey here. I hope this helped. Thank you so much for watching. If you want to find out a little bit more on my one good trend strategy, all right, make sure you click on the link below this video. I'll just place the link right there. Attend one of those free webinars that we're still running, and that's where I'll share with you guys my entire one good trend, 1GT strategy, which explain to you how do we pick winning stocks, how do you know when to get in, when to get out, and how we have a system to guide us as well. Joey here. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you soon.